in the mirror this morning and said to themselves, I feel sexy today? Wow, nice. Whether that was you or not, this next speaker will resonate with you. Susan Hardwick-Smith specializes in menopausal and sexual medicine. Her book, Finding Your Sexy Self, will be published this year, focusing on menopause, sexuality, and spirituality. Susan is the founder and president of the Complete Women's Care Center in Houston, Texas, the largest all-female OBGYN group in the country. She also helps healthcare providers find alignment and reduce burnout as a certified executive coach, and she leads women's health groups in Malawi. When she's not wrangling her husband or 3 teenagers, you can find her doing Ironman triathlons. Please welcome to the stage Susan Hardwick-Smith.
What if I told you that women could have the best sex of our lives after 45, or even after 65, and that I have the science to prove it? You'd likely be skeptical because no matter what your age or gender, this is probably not your reality, or probably not what you've been conditioned to believe. But it turns out that what we've been told simply isn't true. After 20 years as a gynecologist, and most of that in a disconnected and sexually blah marriage, I'm excited to tell you about a new kind of sex that just gets better with age. What do you think is the most common complaint in the gynecologist's office for women over 40? Something's wrong with me. I don't have any sex drive anymore. I'm ashamed to say I used to blow off that complaint with something like, well, that's normal. I hear that every day. I don't have any sex drive either. And why would you want to have sex when you're done having kids and you're already married? If my husband's penis fell off, I'd be high-fiving myself because I'd have one less thing to do. But once in a while, someone came into the office with a different story. Over 40 and telling me about her amazing sex life that had just gotten better over time. I wanted to find out what genetic mutation these women carried so I could synthesize and sell it. Then I'd be a billionaire and I could retire. But instead, I decided to study them to find out what they had in common. This led to a huge study of women aged 40 to 65, probing the deepest secrets of our sexuality. First, let's talk about that really depressing common cliche for a moment. Woman turns 45 to 50, then she instantly becomes dried up and asexual, while her similar-aged husband pops some Viagra and takes off with a younger woman. Like all cliches, this one is based in some common experience. In fact, 2/3 of women in my study wished their sex life was better. And the study did confirm that sexual frequency and libido do decline with age. 13% of women in my study were not sexually active at all with their partner. Yikes. But those numbers don't tell the whole story, or even the best part of it, because 7% of women in my study, over 40, said their sex lives had just gotten better and richer with time. I called them the sexually woke, my new term for women who had completely embraced their sexuality in midlife and were running with it. Here's the thing. Western culture glorifies youth and fertility and defines them as sexy. If we don't shift out of this mindset when we're no longer young and fertile, we will never fit in, and sometimes we'll just give up. The sexually woke had shifted out of that cultural perspective of youth. They were comfortable in their own, slightly more loose-fitting skins. They had sex with the lights on, with their eyes open, in presence. Now, we all want that, right? But the trick is we have to be willing. I'll never forget, about 10 years ago, a 45-year-old woman came into my office complaining of a vaginal infection that she thought was caused by using her vibrator too much, maybe accentuated by having sex 5 times a week. I pretended to act all cool and calm while secretly I was thinking, I want your life. I really, really wanted to be that person. But when I went home, I realized that as much as I wanted to be that person, I wasn't willing to be that person. Wanting describes desire, but willingness means letting go of resentment and all those habits that you've co-created over all those years. There was not a chance in hell that I was willing to do that. So nothing changed. Well, it turns out that the vast majority of women over 40, just like me, want a better sex life. You know the kind of sex we think about when we're having sex? But most of us aren't getting it. Lucky for us, the Sexually Woke shared 3 secrets that can help us to get there. First, they changed their perspective about aging and that the end of fertility marks the end of sexuality. Instead, they saw midlife as an open field of possibility to play in and to finally be themselves. Second, they shifted from wanting to willing. They made the decision to let go of resentment, to forgive, or they got out and found someone else who sought the same path or went it alone. They recognized that we are innately sexual beings and they deserve to be whole. Third, they made sex an intention and gave it attention. Whether it's making sex a priority over television or secretly handing your husband your underwear under the table at a really nice restaurant, they made sex important. And we all know where the grass is really greener, right? Where you water it. So if 7% of women over 40 say their sex life is just getting better and richer with time, then we know it's possible. And after finally mustering the courage to leave my own disconnected and sexless marriage, it was also possible for me. As a proud member of the Sexually Woke, I can tell you that it's worth whatever you need to let go of. My teenagers with their perfect butts might say my ass looks like a Shar-Pei, but I say that it just gives me more wiggle room. So, if you're not in that 7%, ask yourself, what is standing between you and the best, most vibrant sex life you can imagine? Choose today to wake up. Go home to yourself or your partner and make love in your full glory, in presence, with the lights on. Or get out so that you can. Thank you.